Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Drell Hendricks. We've got a great show today, some very special guests. We've got Brett Fields and Cam Willis from the Young Coaches Association podcast and the head coach of the Airport Eagles, Shane Fidler. Guys, how y'all doing tonight?
Awesome. Just got off the practice field.
Excited, man. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped about it. Appreciate you guys having us.
But we appreciate you guys hopping on. If you guys hadn't checked us out before, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains. Website, movinchains.com, movinchains.com. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. So Brett and Cam are part of the YCA, the Young Coaches Association. And like we mentioned, Coach Fidler there at Airport. Guys, how about giving a little background for the folks who don't really know you or may not be familiar with you guys?
Yeah, so I'll go first, guys. So I'm Brett Fields. Once again, Young Coaches Association. I coach high school football as well. I'm currently at Hanahan High School, PE teacher there, and defensive coordinator, linebackers coach. Really excited, by the way, to just like Coach Fidler was talking about, we're connecting here because these Moving the Chains guys, for some reason, for y'all listeners, they're upstate people, okay? They just refuse to come down here and see some good football being played. So just excited for this collaboration, man. Coach Willis, what you got for us?
Yeah, obviously Cam Willis. I'm an upstate boy originally. I'm from Union, South Carolina. So anyway, I'm down here. Coach Fields and I work together at Hanahan, offensive coordinator, and I coach the skill positions there. And just trying to do the YCA stuff. And again, I'm gonna reiterate what Coach Fields said. I'm just happy to be on here and collab with you guys and put this thing together. So appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, I'm the head coach AD at Airport, going in year 15 of coaching, year 7 of being a head coach. I've been on Moving the Chains, been on the YCA podcast. This is cool seeing these two guys come together. Looking forward to seeing where this show takes us tonight. And, we just got off the practice field. So, I'm worried about tomorrow's practice script, but this is a nice, 45 minutes to an hour to kind of separate myself for a little bit and hang out with y'all. So I appreciate you inviting me.
Well, we appreciate you guys. We know y'all are busy right now getting into fall camp and whatnot, but kind of what we want to do tonight is really do kind of a state of the union, state of the state, as you might say here. Talk about some different things that have gone on across high school football here in the last 6 months to a year. Kind of get your thoughts on it from a coach's side and whatnot, and then just kind of maybe give the fans a little more detail that they may not know. So let's just start with that. One of the rules that we were really high on, and a lot of coaches are, that got passed in the past year, I guess the past cycle, was 11-on-11 practice for you guys. Can y'all kind of explain to the listeners, what exactly that means, what it allows you to do? And then on top of that, did y'all do much of that this summer? And what were y'all able to kind of, have as a takeaway out of those practices?
First off, you gotta give Jason Tone, the head coach at TL Hanna, you got to give him all of the credit. That man brought the vision forward. He was a head coach in Georgia for a while and then came up here. And, they do the camps, the team camps in Georgia. And he brought that up here, brought the team camp idea to TL Hanna. And I guess it rubbed some people in the high school league the wrong way. Thought it was a bad interpretation of the rule in the summer, which I thought was funny because since I've been a head coach, my years at Waccamaw and Ashley Ridge now at Airport, we've always done 11-on-11 stuff. So I was one of the culprits for years. But he put a lot of work in, put a video together, got people in the state on board, got, all kinds of reviews from people and testimonials and took it to the state level and fought it, him and his AD, and got it passed. So now it can be a thing that everyone can do, and there's rules behind it.
We're here at Hanahan. That's been huge for us. Coach Turner is another guy coming from Georgia, a lot of years there, and kind of looked at us like we were crazy when we kind of said we never obviously had any experience in that stuff. Just for the listeners that, maybe aren't up to it as far as high school programs, what a lot of people kind of are still doing even this summer are doing 7-on-7s, whether that's local, whether that's going to a college, whether that's going to like a big tournament in Charlotte. And those linemen obviously are not involved. And what Coach Fidler's kind of talked about, Coach Tone kind of set the tone, as funny as that sounds, as far as getting 11-on-11 going. And I know here at Hanahan, Coach Willis will kind of agree. We've used it. It's been a great thing for us. I think 7-on-7s, as far as majority of what people are doing, are going to be in the past. I really think everybody's going to go to 11-on-11. And once again, I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, kind of talking about us at Hanahan, we've kind of embraced that this summer. Coach Turner's background is doing 11-on-11 in the summer. So once that got passed, that's kind of where we kind of geared everything towards our summer. And Coach Fidler came down and brought his guys. We had Stratford over, and we had Cross High School over, and did like a 4-way, OTA style type 11-on-11. And I like 7-on-7, like it's as a skill guy. I like it for timing with the quarterbacks and receivers and things like that. But the way you can structure it, if you got 11-on-11 going on, you can break off a 10-minute period of doing 7-on-7 and then an inside run period, and then you can come together and do the 11-on-11 stuff. So, the first time doing it this summer, I really like it. Like I said, you just gotta, and Coach Fields and I have talked about it. As long as you can get programs in that you trust, that they're going to come in and you're not going to have kids diving at ankles and things like that. As long as you can structure it that way and you trust those guys that you're working with, I think it's a great thing, man.
Yeah, when we did ours against each other, I thought it was really great. Kids were getting tackle position. No one took anyone to the ground. Coaches all worked together. Hey, can I see that again? Let's do this. Let's do that. It was awesome. It's all about guys you trust, and we're going to host some at Airport next year because we thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. We've had some of these coaches who talked about it. Like, it's all about making sure you have the right groups out there and, not getting some of these rogue coaches or teams that maybe don't really understand it. So how important was that to you guys to, making sure you could do it with the guy that you knew was going to do it the right way and, understood what you were trying to do and making sure you had the right, a few teams out there all at once?
For us, it was huge. Coach Turner didn't have, obviously his background is, Georgia. He didn't have a lot of connections down here. So we kind of relied on Coach Willis and Coach Poston, who's on staff with us, and myself to kind of make sure these teams we were wanting to bring up, would do it the right way. And, kind of like Kevin, like you talked about, it all comes down to having guys you can trust and making it. Coach Turner does a great job of saying it's a pro practice. Like if we've had a great practice where we're just in shirts and shorts and helmets and we're doing our fits and kind of like we did with Coach Fidler with OTA, he'll tell those guys, hey, we just had a great pro practice. So I feel like the biggest thing, kind of like what Coach Willis talked about, is the tackling aspect. Your kids, your linemen are going to look at you kind of sideways when you first bring this up of we're full speed up front. You know what I mean? But when it comes down to tackling, we call it a fit there at hand-to-hand. I know a lot of people do. But like Coach Fidler were talking about, when you get to that ball carrier, for you fans who don't really understand how it would work, think about an NFL practice. When that guy gets close to the ball carrier, he's working a fit. So he's shooting his hands, he's wrapping up air, but he's going to the side he needs to as far as leverage. So you're still getting some type of angle pursuit. I mean, you're working true football. And then like Coach Willis said, the amazing thing about it is if you go to a 7-on-7, let's just say a tournament, that's all you're doing, right? But the OTAs, the 11-on-11s, you can structure that more like a joint practice, right? So you can get that skill time if you need to get that skill time for timing and routes and man coverage and all that. But then you can work right back into team, and you're getting a different look. Your kids are getting a different look. But it all comes down to trusting who you bring or who you go to, right?
Yeah, I'll add too. I think it's important that you're organized too. And just sitting here with Coach Fidler, I know he's one of the most organized guys I've ever been around. So he'll probably agree with me there. And luckily, Coach Fields and I are working with Coach Turner at Hanahan. He has everything organized. Like we're not just going to go out there and say, hey guys, what do y'all want to do here? No, we started out. We did some open field scrimmage type stuff, and then we switched teams and rotated. And the next segment was third downs. Well, then we might go to a third segment and it might be red zone and stuff like that. But like I said, if you're organized and you can get that and you can get those programs, like I said earlier, that you trust, I think it's one of the best things that we've done here in the state of South Carolina.
Kind of piggybacking on that, Coach Tone, I know it's very beneficial for him, the type of offense that he runs up there at TL Hanna. Were you guys able to see much of that, this offseason doing those joint practices, or is that something that you guys didn't see and it was more work that was similar to your offensive styles? Excuse me.
Well, I'd say every offense that we went against, we hosted one here. We had HKT and Lake Marion come. I know those coaches real well. They came and did a great job. Two different types of offenses than anything we saw down at Hanahan. We played one team in the goal line period. They got Wildcat the whole time with their big 240-pound running back and ran at us in T-shirts and shorts. No, not going to mention any team names, but that was great for us because can we hold up against that? Because I'm sure we'll see that type of offense this year. I'm sure some coaches be like, oh, this is terrible. Why are we doing this? This isn't what this is meant for. I'm like, this is what it's meant for. I want to see, can we hold up against this stuff? And now we got it on film. We can check our fits, coach kids up. And then when we play in an offense like that down the road, we can refer back to that moment and deal with it.
As far as down here, Jarrell, we really didn't see any like flex bone looks. I think the flex bone coaches, I'm not saying I talked to every one of them, but I think some of the flex bone guys are a little wary of it. And I think it would be awesome. They could freaking advertise it and market it. If they did a flex bone 11 on 11, like those guys, as far as coaches, I think the mecca is like they all go to Harding University for their little mini clinic. If they did that in the state, like I don't know if Coach Tone could put that together or even would want to. If you got all flex bone teams there, oh man, that would be a heck of a day in the summer just doing 11 on 11. But Jarrell, to not even go on a rant there, we saw, very similar offenses to what we were doing. Like Coach Fidler talked about, it's a great time to work on, any type of formation, any type of 11-on-11 ball. Not having shoulder pads on, as long as you structure it the right way, there's no problem up front. And, that's the big thing between doing 7-on-7 to 11-on-11. You're getting into real football.
Yeah, and just my last thing, the one thing that I'm going to let you guys know that I spent the last 2 years in the flex bone, so I'm very excited to not see the flex bone this summer.
I can imagine. So kind of next thing I wanted to ask you guys about tonight, we've been doing our new coach interview series throughout the summer, a bunch of guys who just got hired, things like that. And we always ask them about the staff, how that's shaping up and whatnot. And a lot of the guys will come back and say they were having a hard time finding coaches, especially, younger guys. I know you guys do a great job with the 35 and under academy, but what can we be, doing better, a better job up here in the state of getting some more young guys into the game than, keeping them there for the long haul?
We got to encourage our graduates to go get teaching degrees. Simple as that. Go, if you want to be a coach, if you have any inkling, all right? I was sitting with guys, the head coach at Hilton Head Prep now, Dusty Effridge. He was student, you guys know Dusty.
Yep.
He was student assistant in for Ellis Johnson at Carolina. I'm sitting in the car with him. He calls Ellis Johnson, and he says, "Ellis, you have any advice for me?" And Ellis goes, "Get your teacher certificate." Mind you, this is a guy who Dusty's trying to coach college, and he's trying to get involved in that game. He said, "Get your teacher certificate." I didn't have mine at the time. I took the advice, and it wasn't even for me. So if Ellis Johnson ever hears this, thank you. Your advice to somebody else paid off for me. I went and got my teacher certificate, and it's paid off. Go get your teacher certificate so you can get in the building, because there's a lot of young coaches that get in and they're like, "Man, I ain't making no money. The job I have that makes money doesn't match up with the hours of coaching, and then they fade away." Get your teacher certificate, get a job in the building, get coaching.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback just because right now, and Coach Fields will back this up too. Right now, our situation at Hanahan and even at Berkeley the last 2 years where I was at, we had so many guys that were community guys. And those guys are great. I'm not saying that they're not great. They are. But a lot of times their actual job interferes with being around the program. So like in the summertime, we got guys that work, 9 to 5s. Well, they're not getting to the high school until, in the afternoon. We've already practiced in the summertime. Now, when school starts, it's a little bit different. They can come around a little bit more. But, I agree with Coach Fidler. Like, we got to get people to get their teaching certificate, man. It makes it so much easier for them to get into the building and get out there and help on our staff and stuff like that.
And if they want to be a head coach.
Absolutely.
You want to be a head coach, you got to, they're going to hire certified people.
I think something that is kind of, I know this would take a lot of movement, and I think some people would take this the wrong way too, but I think getting your teaching certificate needs to be a little easier as well. There are some great people. I worked at elementary school for the past 5 years, and I had some guys who were actually teacher assistants coaching at other schools, as far as football, basketball, whatever, really enjoying it, wanting to be a teacher. And just for example, their GPA in college just didn't match up, or, whatever program they needed to get into, they couldn't get into. And they were still great people. You know what I mean? They were still great people. I know they could be effective educators and great coaches. And it was just too much to deal with compared to the 99% of other jobs that make more, you know what I mean? The whole deal. So they got out of it overall. I'm not acting like I know everything about education, but I feel like overall at the top, it would help with teachers as well if you made it just a little easier for teachers to become certified. I'm not saying, you don't have to get any schooling or any training, but there needs to be some kind of flex or bend, right?
Yeah, sticking in that topic, and this question's more geared towards, Coach Fields and Coach Willis. You guys are young coordinators. What steps are you guys taking to be a head coach? And then for you, Coach Fidler, like, what are what is some advice that you can offer the young coaches who may be listening to this to get into the position that you are now as a head coach of a program and an athletic director?
Coach Willis, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm you know, what's funny is, and I won't go into details about it, but I actually had a head coaching interview this past off season, and it made me realize very quickly that I was not ready for that seat. And so, you know, I like coaching ball. I like doing the X's and O's and stuff like that. And just from talking to different head coaches, you coach less football when you become a head coach than you do when you're an assistant. And they're worried about other things, fundraising, you know, meeting with parents, and all. Coach Fidler can tell you all that kind of stuff. He's got a lot more headaches than I've got. I promise you that much. So I don't know that I'm necessarily looking for that right now, but I feel like I'm at a place, and I'm lucky enough to be under Coach Turner. And I feel like he's a great guy to learn under. So I'm just picking up stuff from him here and there, like what he does as far as organizational skills, the stuff he does with our parents and our booster club and things like that. Just the stuff that, like I said, isn't the X's and O's side of it. So, you know, learning from guys like him, Coach Fidler, talking to guys on the YCA podcast and stuff like that, just getting all that information in case I do want to try to go that route. It's helping me. Because right now I just enjoy coaching football and, you know, going out there every day and coaching our kids up and not having to worry about, you know, what kind of money we got in the budget. That's not my job, and I'm not real concerned about that. So that's kind of my side of it. Coach Fields.
Got to piggyback with Coach there. We're in a really good situation. Very good. We're taken care of. Hanahan is a program, and I'll say that's probably the biggest thing that will kind of change your mind about, and I talked to you guys previously, Jarrell and Kevin, about that. Like, I feel like now that I'm a part of I'm not saying I haven't, but being a part of a program as an assistant, as a coordinator, I feel like will completely change you. Some guys are just on teams, and maybe they don't understand what it takes, and they just want to jump and move and move and move and jump up. But when you become a part of a true program, an organized, structured program, it will completely change your thought process, I believe. You'll get to kind of where Coach Willis is at. Is like, man, one, I don't know if I want to give up coaching all this ball and worrying about scheme and being the head coach of one side of the ball to being the head coach of 2 to 3 teams, you know what I mean? Being in charge of a booster club, touchdown club, and even taking on the role like Coach Fidler is going to talk about a little bit, being an AD as well. I don't know if I want that. And one, it'll come when it comes, right? But yeah. I feel like that's the biggest thing as far as being a young coach. You kind of realize it. And those guys we've talked to in the podcast, they'll tell you the same thing. A lot of those guys who are coordinators now are just like, man, when my time comes, it comes. But right now, I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to learn as much as I can. Coach Fidler, what you got for us?
Well, I'd say advice-wise, you know, first off, you're never ready. When you get to you got to learn by example. But, you know, one thing that I was lucky enough to do that actually helped me prepare to be a head coach when I got my job at Waccamaw was when I got to Colleton County, the AD head coach was Chris Collins, and he made me the boys soccer coach. Now, I don't know nothing about no boys soccer. But he made me the head coach of boys soccer, and I was smart enough to hire really great assistants that did know soccer, and we broke this long losing streak and built the team from just a varsity to a varsity JV and C team. It was great. But I got to learn how to organize travel, how to organize pregame meals, how to fundraise, all on a much lower scale, how I want my pregame to look. I started creating systems, right? Player-parent contract, just, you know, all the little things that head coaches have to do. I started to learn how to do it just on the scale of soccer versus a giant football program. So I got to Waccamaw. I had some systems in place. Those systems had to change and grow and expand and adapt with Waccamaw. But another thing about Waccamaw was I took a risk, right? A lot of people are like, don't take that job. You can't win there. You'll destroy your head coaching career, da-da-da. But I'm one of those guys that's like, hey, bet on yourself. Go for it. You know, I had one guy, I was like, hey, you go there. You know, I took a pay cut from a coordinator at Colleton County to be the head coach at Waccamaw, but go there, you get to live at the beach. The worst that's going to happen is in a couple of years, you know, it will be bad and you just get right back to the seat you're in now. Well, got there, went 0 for the first year, but like stuck to the plan, boom, boom. The next year, won 1, but lost like 5 games in the fourth quarter. So like, all right, we're getting close. And then year 3, breakout, you know, beat state-ranked Carver's Bay and beat Georgetown for the first time ever and go to the play, do all these things there that they've never done. And it's like, man, it felt so worth it. You can see that in kids' eyes. And then that led to another opportunity, right? That leads to the Big 16, Ashley Ridge, whole deal. And then we go there and similar script, but that place had a little bit more winning tradition. And then that's led to where I'm at an airport now, where a place has a really good winning tradition and a lot of support and great resources and athletic directors in there. So I don't have to teach anymore and so on and so forth. So I really believe that, if somebody offers you a chance to coach another sport and be a head coach, take it. Even if you don't know nothing, hire people that do know something and you do the head coaching stuff so you can learn from it, create systems, make mistakes at a lower scale, right? You don't want to make mistakes. That's those kids' favorite sport and what they do. So you want to work really hard for them to have success and fun in what they do. But, go be the golf coach, go be the tennis coach, go be the soccer coach, go be the wrestling coach, go do something like that so you can start creating those systems. And when you do become a head coach, take a chance on yourself, right? And not everyone's going to get a huge paying job or a big time job, your first one. You got to go to Waccamaw, right? You got to go somewhere that they need somebody like you to come in and give that energy to build the program up so that way they can have success. Maybe they're not having success for a reason. I heard somebody told me once, they said, if they were really good, they wouldn't be hiring you. I'm like, man, you're right. Just recognize that yourself. So just go there and, take the chance. If you want to be a head coach, if you want to be a coordinator, take the chance. I went to Eau Claire to be a coordinator. How many people would do that? And it was really tough. It was hard, kids would miss practice and, they don't come from the best home lives, but they wanted to be good and they tried and they showed up and we had, we won senior night game and made the playoffs and we're winning at halftime in the play, just like fun stuff and you could feel the growth. But then that led to going to Colleton County, which was in, 4A when there was only 4A and then going to the playoffs for the first time in that program. Just take a risk on yourself. If you want to do it, don't just sit back and wait on the perfect job. Go make a job perfect.
So, Brett and Cam, you guys have been doing the YCA podcast for a while now, and you're doing some great stuff for some young coaches with that 35 and under academy. Can you kind of just tell the listeners, what that's been about and what y'all have really taken away from that experience doing those interviews here in the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to be kind of blunt. Honestly, we talked about it, Coach Fields and I, we kind of just sat around at his house, in the past and with some buddies and just were talking ball, just like everybody does. And we're like, hey, let's come up with this idea, Young Coaches Association. And, it sat there for like a year or two and we didn't do nothing with it. So that's why we, put established in 2020 because we didn't really mess with it until this past year. But honestly, I mean, I can be frank, Coach Fields and I do it for the networking aspect. Like we've met some guys and talked to some guys that we wouldn't talk to if we weren't doing the podcast. And it's, it's a networking deal, but it's also learning and trying to gain some knowledge from people that have been places that we haven't been, like who's been coordinators, who have been head coaches, talking to guys like, Coach Fidler and stuff like that. And, it's led into, meeting some people and becoming friends with those guys. And, we still have like group chats with those guys now. And, it's going to be exciting to see those kind of relationships build. And, we're going to be keeping up with those guys during the regular season. And it's fun to see their career, where it goes from here. And that's kind of what, my little 2 cents there. Coach Fields can probably add some to that.
Yeah. So first of all, not just because he's on, but Coach Fidler really is a shout out here for the 35 and under academy. That was kind of his brainchild with the Football Coaches Association. He can talk about it a little bit. I'm sure he will after me, but he kind of was the leader of that. And what we got to see doing these interviews is one, that there is a bright future for coaches here in South Carolina. And if you're a fan listening, you need to listen to our podcast, Spotify, Apple Music, and especially if you've got a school in your area, look at the list. We list the coaches where they are. Just for example, a lot of coordinators on there, a lot of assistants, some head coaches. So if you think that guy's an idiot, go listen to him for 30 minutes. Go listen to him for 50 minutes, and you might, change your opinion on that guy. But really, with the 35 and under interviews, it's been great, like Coach said, to meet those guys, make connections as far as us personally, and to get their voice out there. But just kind of to circle back, Coach Fidler, that's his brainchild. This is his program. He invited us in to do these interviews, and he let us sit in on that professional day, that clinic day that those guys got, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it all started 18 months ago. In 2019, I was in the AFCA 35 under 35, awesome experience. I had no part of and no reason to be a part of that. Just got lucky and got to represent our state there, and it was really cool. But we saw other states doing, like a under 35 or 35 and under type deal, recognizing their young coaches, doing these, clinics and creating these cohorts of guys. And so I went to Jimmy Noonan, our executive director of Sacramento Football Coaches Association, said, hey, I think this would be a cool idea to bring here. And he's like, well, draw something up. Let's see what it looks like. So I made a mock schedule, what it would look like, what the goals of it I want it to be. And he's like, all right, let's give it a shot. Well, we couldn't get it together for that summer's clinic. That's just too fast. You got to have an off-season to plan and get it out there and make sure everybody's good to talk, et cetera, et cetera. So this year in the off-season, I started gathering speakers, formulating the topics. At the day before the North-South game, our committee met. Our committee was me, Jamie Johnson from Darlington, Derek Howard from Ridgeview, Paige Wofford from Northwestern. We met. We had breakfast together the day before North-South game, and we said, all right, this is the plan. Here's who's speaking. We got 2 more topics we want. We'll find speakers for that. I'll get to that in a second, and then we'll get this thing rolling. Here's the application process. So I think February 1st, we rolled out applications. Hey, if your birthday is this day or later, so if you're 35 or under, you can apply, and we asked, hey, where do you coach? Where do you teach? We want people that are in the school building, right? We want to reward those who have gone and gotten their teacher certificates, reward those guys and get them a part of this because, we just talked about earlier, hey, go get your teacher certificate so you can be a head coach and all that. We rewarded those gentlemen. We made sure we made them write a essay about why they should be selected. And then we compiled all the applications. We had 70 people apply in total. We chose 15. I think we had 4 head coaches, 5 coordinators, 6 assistants is what we ended up with. One of the head coaches ended up taking another job outside of coaching in the process. But, we kept him in it because it was an honor to be selected for what you did up to that point, not, after that. That's Matt Quinn. I'm sure he'll get back in coaching someday. He's a great coach, so he definitely should, I hope. It'd be great for a group of kids or a community for him to be a head coach again. But we got this thing going. We got it started. We had our first speaker was Harry Cabanis and Dr. Andrew McMillan. We're talking the head coach and the principal of Chapman during that hiring process. And that was an awesome hour, right? Dr. McMillan's at Spartanburg now, reunited with Coach Hodge. But just to them talking about, hey, when I was hiring Harry, he's like, I went to Harry's house and tried to convince him after he said no. It was awesome to hear that. I'm in the back taking notes. I'm not putting this thing together. I'm getting professionally developed too. This is awesome. Then Eric Bendig stood up there and talked about social media, and he's really great with it at Philip Simmons. I mean, he's excellent with social media. And then Chris Collins, the old head coach from Carleton, he's transitioned careers. He's out. He's my DC at Asher Ridge. He's transitioned. He's now in real estate. He's doing great for real estate. His family owns real estate business. He talked about how he took different head coaching jobs and how that affected his financial and personal life. And then he's in the real estate business, so he talked about how you buy a house and sell a house and that process and how that looks. And then we had Derek Howard come in, talk about getting players recruited and branding your program. And then we had lunch, sponsored by BSN, Booster, fundraising, did breakfast. Riddell came in, gave everybody shirts. Paige Wofford talked about how to clinic. Jimmy Noonan and Jeff Tate and Lee Taylor talked about the Coaches Association. Perry Woolbright talked about his career as a head coach. Did I miss anyone, guys? I'm trying to think. I hope I didn't. If I did, I apologize. And then Matt Reel, Jamie Johnson, and Marlon Taylor from Lower Richland sat up there and did a panel. And I started with a couple questions throughout the day, but I didn't really have to do much because all the guys that were selected, the cohort, they just let it roll. And that Cam and Brett, we let y'all sit in the back. Y'all were taking notes and asking questions. Y'all were doing great. Those guys would probably still be talking and doing that actual question answer session if we didn't have to stop and let Coach Early close us out. So it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah. The roundtable stuff. I mean, all of it was really good, and we've talked with Coach Fidler about it too. It was a great experience for us to sit in on, and that roundtable stuff was gold at the end. I mean, you get those guys asking questions that they have to those guys, and it was really special, and it was nice to sit in on that stuff. So it was a great time.
It was awesome. Can't wait to do it again next year. Obviously, we got a big football season ahead of us, and the sponsors stepped up big, and the South Carolina Athletic Coach Association, Shell Dula, Scott Early, Neil Smith, those guys. Neil was actually a part of it too, but now he's getting bumped up in the Coaches Association world, so he's going to be our first 35 and under guy to be super big time, I guess. But those guys have really been supportive of it. I think a lot of people were confused. Can we just come in? Well, the point is to be special and to create that cohort of young coaches. Now those guys can put that on their resume and say, I was a part of this. I was selected for this. I'm worth an interview. I'm worth, a look at for this job, et cetera, et cetera. That was the goal behind it. And, because I feel like the 35 under 35 really helped me. I feel like when you look at my resume and see that, it kind of drops your attention. Hey, what's that? Even like I said, I didn't deserve to be in that, but I got selected. I was lucky enough. So it's been helpful to me. So I want to help other guys too, because we got to develop our coaches in this state and stop getting people that are assistants or head coaches in other states coming and taking our jobs.
Yeah, and just real quick side note, I'll be 35 in December, so I got my fingers crossed. I'm trying to apply and see if I have a chance to get in there before I get too old.
Yeah, if you need a reference letter, Drell and I are happy to provide that for you, man. So
just forward it to Shane Fidler.
Okay, got it.
The committee.
Oh, okay, yeah, the committee. I got you.
Coach Fidler, I got to ask you, you just mentioned, we did see an influx of coaches coming from other states in the head coaching ranks this offseason. We saw like 60, plus vacancies this cycle here. Do you think that's a product of South Carolina being super attractive because of the resources, or do you think it's strictly a development issue?
I think it's absolutely resources are attractive, and everyone should be attracted to jobs in our state. We want that. But we want our guys to be so attractive to these principals and these superintendents and these decision makers that there's no reason to choose somebody from Charlotte or Atlanta or Ohio or Virginia or anywhere else. Like, choose our guys, right? I want all of my assistant coaches on staff that want to be head coaches. I want them to be a head coach. They go tell me they're going to interview for a job. I'm going to help them. What can I do to help you? Someone I know, friends I know, Cam, Brett, if they got a head coach interview and they want to come look at how I prepare and the stuff I do. In fact, we've done that with those two guys. Remember that? We sat on a Friday night in my office at Ashley Ridge for like 4 hours. Our wives were so mad. But we sat in there and just talked about stuff. And I want my guys to do that. I want our assistants to do that. I want these coaches, these young coaches that we're now creating these friendships with and creating these relationships with. I want them to have that. And no disrespect to anyone from outside the state. I'm originally from outside the state, but I've only worked here. So I consider myself here. I've lived here over half my life, so I'm a South Carolinian now. But if you're a head coach in Charlotte, we don't want you to get our job. We want a good assistant to get it, or a head coach at a smaller school that wants to move up, or anyone, somebody from ours.
So next thing I wanted to ask you guys about, I think in the past week or so, the high school league officially announced that the state titles are going to be moving from Benedict over to South Carolina State. What do you guys think about that? Obviously, when we were all growing up in the state, I know, Coach, you're not from here, but you've been here a long time. The games were played at Williams-Brice's, Weekend of Champions, that type of thing.
Yep.
And, obviously, I know it comes down to money sometimes and whatnot, but do you guys like it being at SC State? Would you like to stay at Benedict? Would you like to get it back to Williams-Brice? Or what are y'all's thoughts on kind of that location there for the state championships?
I know if my team was playing state championship and I lost and I got a bill on Monday, I'd be upset. And that was happening.
Good point.
That was happening to some teams. But I don't care where they host it. I just want to play in it. That's my stance. I really don't care. I just want – my job is to get my team, my program to that game. They can hold that thing in a cow field in Hunter Connor Tyler, and we'll play in it. We don't care. We just want to do that.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way as Coach Fidler. Like, first of all, I feel like the smaller environment you can get, the better, especially – we talk about South Carolina. There are a lot of venues on a Friday night as far as, non-playoffs or even deep into the playoffs that people just talk on and on and on and on and on about, right? Like, Dylan in 2008 or, you know what I mean? All you fans listening, exactly what I'm talking about. So I think as small as an environment as you can get and try to absolutely pack that environment, I feel like that makes it more special to me as a coach. And I know it did as a player. Now I don't have any state title experience. I've been in the lower state, and I just know those third, fourth round playoff games, real cold, smaller environment, not a huge stadium. Everybody's packed in there. People are standing on the fence. That's huge. I love that environment. I think that's great for kids and coaches. So I'm always for the smaller environments and the smaller bills as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the positives. And I've never played in one as a player. I got close a couple of times, but I was lucky enough to coach in the state championship game in 2012 at Union. And it was cool. I'll be honest, it was cool playing in Williams-Brice. It was cool getting out of school on Thursday or Friday, whatever it was, to go, do our little walkthrough or whatever it was. But at the same time, playing in the game, like, it was loud, but it wasn't as loud as like the upper state championship was. So, I mean, there's different, aspects of it that I like, but I'm kind of with these guys. I mean, it'd be cooler I think the moving it to SC State is going to make it a little bit more, I guess, the environment's going to be a little bit more electric. So that's kind of my side of that part too.
Y'all are on the always crowded bar theory. That's y'all's thing, right? Small bar packed is a better place to go than the big bar that's not packed.
There you go. It's all about
Absolutely.
the vibes, Coach. It's about the vibes.
Yeah, it's the vibe, dude. I mean, who, if you've lived in this state, whether you've played, coached, or maybe you're just a fan now, what environment do you want to go to? The one that looks empty or the one that's getting a little rowdy? You know what I mean? It takes 20 minutes to get a hot dog and a Coke. Okay. I mean, you're fighting for a spot to actually watch that game. That's kind of what our state, I think, is going away from a little bit, other than the rural areas. And I think any type of environment that we can give fans to maybe pack it out, the better. That's just my stance on it.
Shifting gears a little bit, guys, I got to ask, the transfer portal has made its way to high school football. It just has. Me and Kevin been trying to keep track of where these kids are going. There's a bunch of different factors, of why kids are going to different schools. If you don't mind just, telling us your thoughts and, if you've been affected by it positively or negatively, do you guys think there's a solution? Just overall, what do you think about the transfers that seem to be picking up where it's mimicking college football on the high school level?
There's no solution. You just got to make sure that you treat kids and coaches correctly and make sure that you communicate with parents. You need to make your program the best program it can be. Simple as that. You got to promote what your school has to offer. You got to make your place important. I'm lucky enough to be at a place now where it is. We got great resources. We have great history. We got great support. This is the type of place that you want to be at in times like this, because you're going to be able to, make sure your kids understand how important it is to be at airport, how important it is to play in a program like this, in a stadium like this, in front of a crowd like this, a place that people want to be a part of. So that's exciting to me. And like I said, there is no solution except, there's rules and all that, but there are always going to be ways around it. The key is treat people the right way, make your program the best it can be, and you won't have any issues.
Yeah, I mean, Coach just pretty much hit it on the head. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, once the college game started turning into that stuff, everybody knew it was going to kind of trickle down to the high school effect. I mean, you got social media nowadays, and you got all kinds of different avenues for kids to see other places, and social media is a big part of that. Like I said, you got XYZ schools putting out there that they're slinging it around. They got 1,000-yard receivers or running backs and stuff like that. Well, then you got little Johnny over here at the small A school that wants to go be a big time somewhere. So, I mean, it's going to happen. Coach Fields and I are kind of in a place where, there ain't really a whole lot we can do about it. We just got to coach the guys that we got. And like you said, we got to love on them and make our place, desirable for those kids. And that's, luckily we're with Coach Turner, and I think he's doing a great job of building our culture at Hanahan. And, we're just kind of there to help him build that culture and love on those kids and make them want to be at Hanahan High School.
Program. That's the word I keep bringing up, and not only, on this podcast, but just in general talking to people, because I've had some buddies kind of ask about that same thing. And you better have a program. If you have a team, it's going to be a problem. But if you've got a true program, a well-run organization, those kids are thriving. You're taking those kids to the ceiling. The ones that, I'll be honest with y'all, the ones that probably need to go, maybe a different situation, they probably will go. But the ones that need to stay will stay if you have a program. If you're a fan and you're listening, and it might be a little exciting to you, this might be a little exciting. And I think from a fan perspective, if you're interested in high school football in South Carolina, it probably is a little fun to look on Twitter or Facebook and see the drama. As far as from a coach perspective, it all comes down to, coach who shows up and make your football program. Don't make it a team. If it's a team, it's going to be a problem. I can't say it enough. If you run it the right way, kind of like Coach Fidler's got going on the airport, what Coach Turner's doing at Hanahan, you won't have that problem as much. But you're always going to have that problem. There is no solution as a coach or a school. it's going to get easier and easier for kids to do that. So you've got to make it attractive for the kids.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
All right. So I got one for y'all. Y'all throw it at everybody, man. I listen to a lot of your guys' podcasts. I've listened to pretty much all the new coaches' interviews. That's very exciting to me, getting to listen to these guys and getting some background and getting to know a little bit more of the state because I'm just a low country guy. But, Kevin, Jarrell, give us right now, no thinking about it, no writing a list. Give us 2 restaurants in y'all's areas that we need to go to.
Okay, so now if we're looking in the Greenville area, my favorite spot right now is called Coral. Kind of a seafood type place up here, man. It's just top notch. Can't beat it. And then I'm going to go one actually back where I'm from for the second one here. Because I ate there last weekend. Schuler's Barbecue. It's a buffet Thursday through Saturday, man. The ribs are fantastic. The pulled pork is fantastic. All the sides are great. Can't beat it. So I got you one in the PD there and then one in Greenville. That's my 2 spots right now we're going to go with.
2 restaurants on the spot. I got to go Trapdoor in Greenville. That's one of my favorite places to go. Kind of Belgian food. Go get you some fries. They have like 20 different flavored mayonnaises that you can get with your fries. So you can do that. Go get you some duck, something like that. Bring the wallet. Another place in Greenville. Another place I like to go to in Greenville. It's called the Casbah. It's a tapas place downtown Greenville. Take your significant other over there. Go get you about 5 or 6 small plates. Go get you a bottle of wine. Go downtown. Go get you some ice cream from Jenny's or something like that downtown Greenville. But those are like my 2 spots. And Greenville's getting bougie, man. We're getting that Charleston effect, like that low country, No offense, Coach Fidler. We're getting people from Ohio moving down here, getting people from New Jersey. We're getting all kinds of, it's not, Greenville of 20 years ago. So yeah, you gotta go to these fancy spots.
I do want to clarify. Drell said tapas and not topless. Tapas, not topless. There,
that is tapas.
That would be a different spot for that, actually.
Yeah,
but
we're PG-13 on this show here at Moving the Chains. So
I wish I would got these recommendations last week before the coaches clicked. The wife and I went to Sobeys.
Sobeys is solid. Sobeys is good.
Right, okay.
Sobeys is a good spot. I like Sobeys.
It's good.
I like Sobeys.
So it's an OG. Like that's one of the original downtown Greenville restaurants. They had the windows open, I'm sure, right there on Main Street.
To come in.
Yeah.
Upstairs. It was nice. It was real nice.
Hey, so I think that Coach Fields and I tried to go to Trapdoor, but it was closed by the time we got. It was a Monday night, so it was closed by the time we got there. So
nice. Trapdoors are good. We love barbecue. Upstate barbecue is kind of lacking. However, we did have like one of the biggest barbecue riders come through Anderson, gave high praise to a place there. So I got to go check it out this weekend. So definitely going to do that.
All right. I got one.
Zestos and Bellas, baby.
Boom.
Zestos
and Bellas. Airport owned and operated. We love those people.
I love Zestos, man.
So no rushes?
Rushes is fine, but Zestos.
That's mine and Field's spot on the way back from the upstate. We always stop by Rushes.
We always stop.
Rushes was my spot forever too, but now I'm the head coach AD at Airport. Zestos.
Got to go to Zestos.
Boom.
Coach Fidler, do you bring it back and do you eat it into your indoor facility at Airport or?
I don't want to dirty it up.
Why'd you bring that up?
Smart man. The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Murrells Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more, so wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's thegeorgeagency.net.
I have a question.
Yeah, I was about to say, go ahead, Coach. I got one as well.
Chains guys, what would you like to see head coaches in this state do more of to help you guys and what you guys are trying to do with your initiative?
Man, I'll tell you, you guys do a great job, but y'all 3 do. But just putting out more content on social media, whether that's highlights or just sharing their kids' profiles and even stats are really big for us. We try to do a player of the week, and half the time we're picking from like the same 5 schools because that's the only people we can find stats for. So just, doing more of that type of stuff. And then, same thing with the kids' handles that we're trying to tag them and stuff that we're giving them when you can't find them because everybody's got, their nickname is their Twitter handle and this and that. So just maybe even coming up with like some kind of a list they could send out like, hey, this is our kid's Twitter. Here's his this, something like that would be major help to us instead of having to kind of dig around and search and go through following list and follower list to try to find the right kids on a week in, week out basis.
Kevin wants a media guide from every athletic.
There we go.
That's what he's saying there. Yeah, just more work. Like you don't have enough to do, Coach Fidler.
That's right.
But for me, it's probably the same thing. Just making sure that these kids, have an opportunity so guys like us can, retweet their stuff, follow their games, because most of it, a lot of the max prep stuff, unfortunately, is not right most of the time. It's hard to get on stats lists. We never have a problem with access. I do have to say that the ADs, coaches, they always give us time. There's rarely been a situation where we haven't been able to go cover a game, haven't been able to schedule an interview, haven't been able to talk to a player if we needed to. So that's always been beneficial. But like Kevin was saying, just, easier access to the player. So that way, if we want to like, hey, this kid's doing big things, we do, like we have college coaches that, follow our small thing as well. Maybe someone may see a clip that we put out and, can lead to a scholarship, something like that. Cause that's all that we like to do at Movin The Chains is, push you guys as coaches, push the staffs, push the communities, the environments, but most importantly, the players.
All right. So my question now, I guess I got to ask one too. What's it going to take for Coach Fields and I to get the Movin The Chains guys to come down to Wiley Knight Stadium for a game at Hanahan?
I tell you what, man, we need to do that. We've been kind of looking at our calendar and seeing what we can make it down there for. So obviously we're big high school football guys. We're also big Clemson football fans. So Saturdays are a little bit taken up sometimes. So these long road trips make it a little bit tough. But we're looking at maybe making a game down there early in the year, down there in the Low Country. But Drew, I'll let you take that one.
Kevin's gonna give you Kevin's giving you the political answer. We need some money. We need a place to stay. We'll sleep on the dog bed. We need. It's hard making that 4-hour trip down to Charleston. We need to be financially incentivized. I'm just kidding. No, we just got to carve it out on the schedule, man.
So we'll let Coach Fields can handle the pay. I'll let you stay at my house. We'll let him pay you though.
There we go.
So here's the deal. If you do that, Rail, you're going to come with me to my house in Somerville, and on Saturday, you're going to help me break down the next opponent. And then, Kevin, you'll stay at Cam's, and then Saturday morning, you'll help with the offensive breakdown. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Wait, I thought offensive coaches didn't work as hard as defensive coaches, Brett.
That's why I put Jarrell with me.
I'm getting lucky.
That's why I put Jarrell with me, Coach.
Which I take major offense to. How many different formations we give you in the playoffs, Brett?
Don't start.
Listen, I'll be by the pool on Saturday, so I ain't got nothing to do on Saturday, right?
Yeah, Cam's just chilling in the lounge chair on Saturdays. I'm over there sweating.
Don't buy into that from Coach Fields. He's fibbing.
No, guys, I got a serious one for you though, Kevin and Jarrell. So, Coach Fidler kind of stole my thunder. That's what I was going with. But as far as two guys looking from the outside in, as far as programs and teams and whatnot, and you guys are great with your previews. Like I said, you try to make a game pretty much every Friday, correct?
Yep.
One thing that scares me as far as moving up in the coaches' ranks right now, I'm a coordinator, I've been assistant for a long time, and I want to be a head coach. But something that really scares me, other than staff, is packing a stadium. Creating a good, safe, fun environment. It's something down here in the Low Country that I think we're lacking. A lot of people look down on us as far as football, but I think the quality of football isn't lacking. It's just a little resources. But the biggest thing to me is you go to an environment Friday night down here, and people have so many things to do in Charleston in the Low Country, and they don't want to come. So as somebody who wants to be a head coach, wants to pack out a stadium, you guys have been to a bunch of different environments. What is something from the fan or paying perspective that could get you guys to come to a game? If your kid isn't playing or your cousin isn't playing, or what's something in that environment in that stadium on Friday night that could help that?
Well, personally, I'll make this easy. You got to have good concessions. Number one, because I gotta have a good homemade chili on the hot dog when I do the review, so I get people to come to your stadium. You don't want me to give you a low review, but that's a really good question. Most of the venues we've kind of been cherry picking some historic venues, so obviously those are the communities where they go. But the things that I've seen, number one's the product on the field. You've got to have a really, really great team. That's the easiest way to get people through the gate. But I love the stuff like Coach Fidler's doing. And I'm not just saying that because he's here. The initiatives, the programs that I've seen, it's the communities involved, like you said, regardless of if they have, familial connection to the program. When you build that community and the people are like, I'm just going to go to a game, Coach Fidler's getting everyone in that community involved to come to Airport regardless. I think those are the steps that you have to take and kind of piggyback off the guy that's a couple tiles down, because that's what I've seen. And we see it all the time. We went to Abbeville. Obviously, they've won 300 state championships, but we're sitting next to people like, who's your son? Who's your grandson? Who's your nephew? And they're nobody. Like, we're just here. Now, not to say that Abbeville has the things to do that Charleston does, but once you build that community and you have sustained success, people are just going to continually come out to your venue.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, getting the community to realize that you care about those guys too, whether that's, taking your team out to do, service projects or taking your team out to have some kind of fan fest or whatever it is, but doing stuff to, you can't just say, hey, come to our game on Friday. You got to show them that you care about the community, that you're building something for the community as well. I think that's the big thing to it. I mean, Drell hit it on the head, though. Concessions is number one for me, too. But no. But yeah, I mean, Charleston's a tough one, too, because there's so much going on. It's always like you're competing against the movie theaters or against, King Street or the restaurants or whatever. What do you do to get people to come out there? And, maybe that's having, extra food trucks or having something for the kids to do during the game, or, giving free admission to the rec guys if they wear a jersey or whatever. So just kind of adding in some ideas like that. But I think the main thing is just showing them that you want to be part of the community. Don't just show up on Friday nights, like get out there and get involved with what they've got going on outside of football.
Little sidebar, when I was head coach at Walkmall, we scheduled a couple teams in the Charleston area. My parents thanked me after the year because they got to go eat at the restaurants in Charleston and then come to the game. They're like, man, that was the best idea ever playing. We know why you were driving all the way down there for games, but we appreciate it.
Yeah, so I threw that out there just because my year as a coordinator at Cross, we went to Whale Branch a couple years ago, and their facilities are beautiful. And it's not really – there's Beaufort close, right? But it's not quite that Charleston hub. Those kids it was a very good program, right? As far as 1A, you had the linemen go to Michigan, had the running back running for 5 million yards. I really was hoping for a great environment. It was a region game. I got down there, it's turf, beautiful, newer stadium. I put the headset on, and I can hear the coaches on the other side calling. They're making every call, every adjustment. There's like 10 people in the stands. You know what I mean? So I hear you guys with sustained success, but there are some programs around here that have that success. Not trying to throw shade, but I think Timberland's another place where absolute monsters, a lot of success, not a lot of losing seasons, and you go there and it's almost a ghost town. You know what I mean? So just coming from you guys looking outside in, there were some things I was looking for myself.
Yeah. Good stuff. And it's really weird. We've been to all levels from 1A through 5A, even some SCSA games over the years. And it's you can have a good environment at really any level. We've seen great stuff at 1A. You go to a game at Lakeview or something like that. It's a great atmosphere. You go to 5A, Gaffney is awesome. Then you go to 3A, you go to Dillon. I mean, all levels can have great. It's not necessarily about the size of the town. A lot of times it's just kind of making sure the community understands, I think, that you're there for them and just getting them to kind of buy into what you're doing.
And Brett, I'm glad you pointed that out. Sustained success is not the only thing, because we've also seen some bad environments for some really good programs. And we've gone to some really big schools, and you're like, I thought this was going to be way better, and it was not. And like you were saying too, we've been some places, beautiful facilities, great concessions, playoff games, and they've been lackluster. Where is everybody? These are some good teams on the field. So there's a lot that goes into it. That's a really good question.
I want to shout out some good low country environments. Dillon, obviously, you talked about. Somerville's a great environment. I'm not going to say any home fields I've played at. I don't want to be biased here. Somerville's a great environment. Manning is awesome. When I was at Walkmall, we played at Manning on homecoming. It took us like 30 extra minutes to get in because they had so many people tailgating. It was awesome. And then we played at Wilson to open their stadium. The Benedict Band was there. I mean, it was people on top of people on top of people. It was TV. It was great. Fantastic environments. Those are Manning, Dillon, Wilson, Somerville. Those are awesome places to go play.
It's so cool, Coach. We had you on a month or two ago. We asked a lot of these coaches that we talked to who've been in the state a while, like, what are some of your favorite atmospheres? And I feel like every coach we ask gives us like a different 4 or 5. Like, there's just so many great spots around the state. I mean, you mentioned Dillon. That's one of my favorites. I grew up going to some of my uncle's ball games up in the Lancaster, Rock Hill area, and going to see, Northwestern or Rock Hill play at District 3 Stadium is just, nuts to do stuff like that when they're really good. That's always super fun. Drill and I went down to Barnwell last year. Great environment down there for a 2A program. So just, all corners of the state, there's really some great towns and great football for sure.
Yeah. Fairfield Central, that's another. That was awesome. They ran down the hill and then scored a bunch of points on us when I was at Eau Claire.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Well, I think this has been great, guys. I hope this is something we can do again, maybe later on in the year, even after the season. I think just kind of getting more of a coach's and insider perspective. I think that's something our fans are, interested in hearing about. So I think it's been really fun talking to you guys. Really enjoyed it. Before I let you go, Brett and Cam and Coach Fidler, kind of give the folks a little shout out about, where they can find you, where they can follow your program, things like that, and kind of let them know where to get in touch with you on social media.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Airport FB. Twitter, you can follow me at Coach Fidler. We try to put stuff out there to promote our kids and our program. Try to be positive all the time, and I like following other positive coaches and positive people, and just appreciate all y'all listening. Appreciate you guys for doing this, because this is stuff our state needs if we want to take the next step and we want to become that premier state. And when you get on ESPN and they're doing the signing day special, you want them to say Florida, Georgia, California, South Carolina, Texas. That's what we want to hear. And it's going to take stuff like this and everybody buying in to get it there.
Yeah, and Coach Fidler, real quick, you forgot it's called X now. I don't think it's Twitter anymore.
I'm old school, baby.
It will always be Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. I hate the new logo. Anyway, so myself at Coach Willis 11, that's my personal Twitter. Coach Fields and I have got the YCA podcast, which is YCA_podcast. And then, Coach Fields and I, again, we're at Hanahan, so you can find us down there. That's the big thing. Like I said, appreciate you guys having us on here, doing this kind of collab together, and, kind of an inspiration. You guys do a great job. So me, Coach Fields and I can kind of clean up some of our stuff and make our YCA stuff better and continue to work with you guys in the future. So appreciate it again.
Absolutely. And I guess I'm weird. I only have X. I don't have Facebook and Insta and all that. Coach Bendig during that presentation on social media really made me feel bad. But I'm Coach B Fields as far as on X, Twitter. And like Coach Willis said, all the Hanahan accounts, please follow us. And really just thanks not only to Movin The Chains, but the guys and girls who are listening right now. If you're listening to this, you've got some interest in high school football in South Carolina. So thank you guys that'll listen to this. And you need to keep listening to these Movin The Chains guys. They're killing it. This is something they don't have to do, and they're absolutely crushing this.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. That's super nice y'all to say that. Like I said earlier, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, etc. Movin Chains, movinchains.com, MOVINCHANS.com, podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Movin The Chains brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Drill. Anything else for Coach Fields and Coach Willis and Coach Fidler before we let them go today?
Yeah, I know you kind of unofficially wrap this, but I got one more question for each of you, and you can keep it brief. What is, like, if you had to, use a couple words to say the state of South Carolina football, high school football right now, what would you say the state of South Carolina football is?
On the come up.
I would say underrated.
They're perfect. Growing and underrated. I think we're growing our people, and I'd say that we're super underrated. But they said it in the business meeting. You guys weren't there. They said other states are starting to notice what we're doing, and they want to be like us, and that's the first step to getting from underrated to the top.
Yeah, great answers. We've seen just in the past 5 or 6 years we've been doing this, the growth of the state and just in everything. So it's been really cool to see. Glad to have you guys to be a part of it, and looking forward to watching you guys this season. Best of luck this year, and we'll definitely touch base soon. All right, guys?
Appreciate it. Go Eagles.
Appreciate you guys.